The Legend of the Beautiful Lady Godiva. September 5, 990. The legendary Lady Godiva, my 30th great-aunt, is born, wife of Leofric III, Earl of Mercia and Lord of Coventry, and sister of Toroldo de Bolingbroke and Bucknall, Sheriff of Lincolnshire, my 30th grandfather, for times my grandfather. The story of my oldest ancestors, of whom I am very proud. Lady Godiva, called Godiva of Bucknall, born on September 5, 990, and died on September 10, 1067, was the daughter, probably, of Mercia of Bolingbroke, Lord of Bucknall, Earl of ancient Mercia. Lady Godiva, or Godgifu, from Old English, God gift, which means gift from God, of Mercia, was an Anglo-Saxon noble aristocrat, wife of Leofric III, Earl of Mercia, Lord of Coventry, who founded the monasteries of Coventry and Much Wenlock. Lady Godiva became famous. According to a legend, the noblewoman crossed the streets of Coventry, England, on horseback, naked, in order to convince her husband to reduce the taxes he had charged to finance his military campaigns. Historical figure. Lady Godiva was the wife of Leofric III, Earl of Mercia and Lord of Coventry, and was the sister of Toroldo of Bolingbroke and Bucknall, Sheriff of Lincolnshire, my 30th grandfather, for times my grandfather. The story goes that she was the beautiful wife of Leofric III, Earl of Mercia and Lord of Coventry. Her name comes from Old English. He also appears in the Chronicles of Ely, which describe Godiva as a widow, at the time of her marriage to Leofrico. The couple had a son, Elfgar of Mercia. In 1043, Leofric founded the Order of St. Benedict in Coventry. His signature Di ego Godiva comitissa Diu ista desideravi appears on Toroldo de Bucknall's letter of donation to the Benedictine monastery of Spalding. Some genealogists argue that Toroldo, who appears in the Domesday Book as Sheriff of Lincolnshire, was probably his brother. After Leofric's death in 1057, Lady Godiva appears referred to in the Domesday Book of King William I of England, the Conqueror, my 31st grandfather, for times my grandfather, and thus was the first woman to be called lady after the conquest. By 1086, when the Domesday record was made, Lady Godiva had already died, but her name remained there. Some sources indicate that she died on September 10, 1067, a year after William's invasion of England. There are controversies regarding the place where his body was buried. According to one of the sources, she was probably buried in Evesham, in Worcestershire. However, the writer Octavia Randolph assures that Lady Godiva was buried next to her husband in St. Mary's Priory and Cathedral, in Coventry. The legend of Lady Godiva. Legend has it that the beautiful Lady Godiva was touched by the situation of the people of Coventry who suffered from the high taxes established by her husband. Lady Godiva appealed several times to her husband, who stubbornly refused to lower taxes. Finally, tired, he pretended to fulfill her request, on condition that she ride naked through the streets of Coventry. Lady Godiva agreed to keep her word and walked through the city, dressed only in her long hair. The husband kept his promise and cut the high taxes. Leofrico ordered all the city's residents to lock themselves in their homes until it passed. Legend has it that only one person dared to look at it, and he became blind as a result. At the end of the story, Leofrico removes the higher taxes, thus keeping his word. The earliest form of the legend tells of Lady Godiva passing through the market at Coventry, while the people were gathered, observed only by 2 knights. This version is narrated in Flores Historiarum by Roger de Wendover, died 1236, a somewhat naive collector of stories. It is generally believed that the part regarding Lady Godiva's long hair is part of the legend, added later. Some thematic elements are familiar in a legend: the uncompromising lord, the required promise, very difficult living conditions, chastity. One element, on the other hand, is unusual at the time: the power and independence of an Anglo-Saxon widow of high nobility. Another theory says that Lady Godiva's nudity would be symbolic, represented by the lack of adornments and precious jewelry, marks of the nobility to which she belonged. In any case, there are no traces of the story in sources contemporary with Lady Godiva. This, combined with Coventry's peculiarities, makes the story question a little about the legend's veracity requirements. Family and descent. From the marriage of Lady Godiva to Leofric III, Earl of Mercia and Lord of Coventry, was born Alfgar, Earl of Mercia, married Ealfgifu, or Elgiva, of Saxony.